everyone, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for iChess.net, and welcome to this new video where we'll be talking about two geniuses, Magnus Carlsen, the best in the world nowadays, against or versus Bobby Fischer, a legend, one of the best players in the history of this game, and it is tough to compare. We know they both have an amazing amount of talent, but they never had a chance to play together. So despite knowing it is tough to compare, what we can do is we can analyze their approaches to defenses like the dragon, and that is what we're going to do in this video. So the first game we are going to see is Carlsen against Taylor. This game was played in 2003. By this time, Magnus was 13 and his rating was 2450. So let's see. Knight f3, d6. Okay, we have the main lines of the Sicilian. And here, instead of playing the Najdorf with a6 or the Rouser with knight c6, Black decides to play the dragon. Bishop e3. This is by far the main approach against the dragon. Bishop here. We know Black, he cannot play this move yet because we have bishop b5 check. Now, and no matter what he plays, he's going to lose a piece if this would take. The same happens after bishop d7, we take. And if knight c6, we can just take, and we keep on grabbing material. So he plays this. Now this move might be a threat because after bishop b5 check he has king f8. So we play f3. We are trying to play the English attack as white. That happens when we play queen d2, we queenside castle, and with this setup we can think about fighting a kingside attack. So black castles. Okay, we play queen d2. Knight c6, and here we have two main lines to choose as white. Magnus played this move, which is one of the main lines, and the other move, and you probably heard of bishop c4, trying to play bishop b3. The idea of this move order is to stop Black from playing d5. I mean, bishop c4, bishop d7, we are castling queenside anyway, but by playing this, now we can play bishop b3 just in case, we make sure Black doesn't have the chance of playing d5. With the move order Magnus played, Black, if he wants, he can play d5 here, which is interesting. I mean, we can take, as you can see, in the main line, we can win a pawn as white. However, Black plays queen c7, and if we take, he's got bishop f5, and he's down a pawn, but he's got a powerful counterplay, and, I mean, a pawn is nothing compared to having the initiative, and this is what Black has in this position, so I don't recommend this. I think theory says it's equal, but I don't like it. So when we queenside castle, if he plays d5, my idea is pawn takes, knight takes, we take on c6, but then we are not grabbing the pawn on d5. We play this positional move, and then we try playing and attacking those weaknesses on the queenside. This is, of course, a long-term plan, but okay, he's got some weaknesses. We are not looking for material. We go for a positional game, and this is way much better than the other line we saw. So, okay, we have some theory as well in this video. Queen d2, knight c6. Carlsen plays queenside castle, and Black goes for bishop d7. So, this approach is not as good for Black because we haven't played bishop c4, bishop b3 yet. We haven't lost a tempi. That means we can immediately start fighting a kingside attack with g4. We know he's likely to play this rook c8, knight e5, knight c4, and at the end of the day we'll play bishop takes c4 in one step. That is why this line is supposed to be better for white. If we play bishop c4, bishop b3, and then we take on c4, we are investing like 2 or 3 tempis to lose our bishop. But here we lose it in a single move. So queen a5. I love this move. The computer says playing h4, h5, which is of course interesting. But when you queenside castle, it is always great to place your king on b1. Make sure you have all your pawns protected. Rook fc8 and h4. This rook fc8 he just played, it's a key move in the dragon, because in some variations we have knight d5. I don't think we have to play knight d5 here, but I mean, after queen takes d2, in some positions we have knight takes e7 check. Now this is not the case because the knight is protecting that square, but let me show you a better example. Imagine he plays rook ac8. Let's say we take, bishop takes, and knight d5. If queen takes d2, this is no check by the way, we take on e7 and he loses a pawn. If he had the other rook on f8, let's say, okay, rook fc8, knight takes, bishop takes, knight d5. Now queen takes d2 is possible, because after this, he's got king f8. And we lose a piece. So that is why, in general, everybody plays rook fc8 in the dragon. So, okay, we don't go for knight d5 here, because it is not our idea to trade pieces off. What we want is to attack on the king side. And black plays knight e5. Bishop e2. This is a quiet move. I mean, I wonder why Magnus didn't play h5. I mean, the idea is to take, obviously, maybe bishop h6, queen h2. When I play the dragon, I feel white's attack is faster than black's. But okay, bishop e2, I'm sure Magnus had a reason. But let's see what happens after h5. If you saw some dragon games, you probably know this resource black has. I mean, sacrificing on f3, he gets a couple of pawns in return, and most important, he's stopping our attack. I mean, our pawns are key in this position, not to mention he can still fire and keep on sacrificing pieces with rook takes c3. If this... okay, this is a disaster for us. We are probably getting mated, so I guess we have to play this. And honestly, I don't think this is good for black, because he's sacrificing too many pieces, but it is fair to say he's got some initiative. Maybe Magnus was worried about this, and that is why he played bishop e2. After all, this move is stopping knight takes f3. So black plays knight c4, takes, rook takes, and h5. Believe it or not, the computer says white is clearly better, almost close to winning this one. And, well, I think that is happening because black doesn't have many pawns in front of our king. And we are opening the king side anytime soon. In other words, we are hitting first. So rook ac8, knight b3. I like this move as well. Maybe he was trying to sacrifice on c3, so it is a great idea to deviate his queen from a5. And he plays queen d8. Let's see, queen b4 maybe? I get the feeling that queen is trapped. It is. I mean, I play a3. I think this move is just a bluff. maybe queen e5, but again, that queen there deserves to be trapped at least. I mean, I see bishop d4. He has to play queen e6, which is not natural. a7 is hanging in some variations as well. So the move he played looks reasonable, but okay. Here is where Magnus finds a good tactic. Pawn takes, black takes with the h-pawn. Taking with the f-pawn is a common move in the dragon, especially if he has the rook on f8, because then he can play rook f7 and protect h7, but that's impossible here. So after this, here Magnus finds a winning variation. We can think about mating him on the h file, I mean queen h2, and then somehow deviate this knight from f6, but we also have tricks on the d file, and that is why knight b3 is a good move. e5, by playing this, we force him to make a decision. I mean, if he opens the d file, then we play this, and he loses a piece. If he moves the knight, then queen h2 looks winning. I mean, he can win a pawn, but bishop h6, and then queen h8, no matter what. So what else? I mean, knight h7 maybe. That is the only move I see. Queen h2, knight f8. And okay, here, worst scenario I see, we can take. And the good news for us is bishop takes c3 is never happening, because we take and we just made him on dark squares. So yeah, maybe this is the only way for play there. The only way to continue as black, because at least here he makes sure he's got his knight under control on f8. But still he's losing. In this game, black decides to sacrifice. But okay, we take, bishop takes, and now we are not slowing down. We play queen h2, and if he takes our rook, we simply mate him. Check, king here, and bishop h6. This is a well-known resource in the dragon, and after this, we can just mate him. We can also take with check, but this is faster. So bishop takes, queen here, bishop takes e5, check, king f8, and we are almost there. To be honest here, rook d f1 should be more than enough to win. Apart from this mating threat, queen takes pawn is also a threat, but Magnus decides to play bishop d4. And I love this concept. We are not calculating much. We are just getting rid of the only defender black has in this position. If this, we can take, but this is even better. Queen h8, and after bishop takes, rook takes, mate. So after bishop d4, which is simple and strong, rook takes e4, rook takes, and okay, if he takes, he can resign here, no defense against queen h8. So, okay, he plays bishop f5. This is too straightforward, and I don't mind getting rid of bishop e5 at this point. He gets his king in the center, we still have the extra piece, and in the short run we should be winning this. In fact, the game continues for a couple of moves. He plays king f6, but suddenly black resigns, and this makes a lot of sense because he is defendless. So we can call this a win for white already. Now let's go to Bobby Fischer game, which is quite interesting as well. Nowadays, Magnus is known to be a positional and practical player, but we see a lot of games where he has a crushing style, like the game we just saw. So, okay, bishop g7, f3, castles, and okay, in Bobby Fischer game, Black played knight c6 first. It looks like black has another idea because the move order is different, but we'll see. He ends up castling at the end of the day. Queen d2, bishop d7. Here we see a difference. Bobby Fischer, he always preferred placing his bishop on c4 against the dragon. I know this because I saw a lot of his games, and he was a big fan of playing bishop c4, bishop b3, rook c8. Now, just in case we have to get out of this file, and black plays queen a5. It looks like he's trying to play a remix variation from the main line because he's keeping his king on e8. I have to say this is not recommended. If I were black, I would castle as soon as possible, because we know that playing with the king in the middle can't be recommended, especially if you're playing as a Sicilian as black. If you talk about a close position, then you can afford playing with the king on e8, but this is not the case. So, knight e5. Here, white plays h4. We can also follow Magnus' concept and play something like king b1. This move was also played a lot by Karpov, but white plays h4. Here, if black wants to do things right, he can still castle kingside, but we'll see. In this game, black was too aggressive and he plays knight c4. By the way, this game is Fischer against Camera, just in case. Bishop takes, rook takes, and knight b3. By analyzing these two games, we can already see that against this knight e5, knight c4 plan, we can just take and continue with knight b3. This looks like the best way of dealing with this attack. Now, black decides to play queen c7, and he's got some issues already. Queen d8, let's see if this is possible. Well, we can play at least this move. I'm not interested in grabbing the a7 pawn. I mean, my bishop could be trapped there. All I want to do here is try playing what Magnus did in the previous game. Here, for instance, e5 followed by g5. I win a piece. So I can think about playing this, and that is one of the main issues of playing queen d8. So he plays queen c7, but this is, suspicious. The queen on c7, I dream about playing a move like knight d5 here. If I had the chance, I would play it. Of course, now this is not a good idea because he takes and then he opens the bishop's diagonal, but okay. I can think about a move like this, and I like my chances. Also, when I play g4, I can think about playing h5. So I like that move. I would also consider a move like h5 because he has the king in the center, so that's a good reason to sacrifice a pawn. And also, if he plays this, now I can play knight d5. And I don't mind losing a pawn as long as I open the h-file, so this is great news for white. I mean, we have a powerful attack, and this guy still on e8. So h5, maybe black, he was trying to sacrifice this change. This makes some sense. I mean, if we take, then he takes on h5, and at least we don't have knight d5. Black has some compensation, but let's take a look at this. h5, rook takes. In chess, we always love in-between moves, and h6 here, I feel, is crushing. If he moves his rook, then I take his bishop, and he'll never castle again. Even if he manages to take this pawn, I don't really care because I feel my attack is too powerful. And if he plays bishop takes, I can just take. Once he moves his rook, I play bishop g7, and I'm still winning. So Here we see a nice in-between move if we play h5. Bobby played a classy move. I like bishop d4 as well, because now knight d5 happens to be a threat. Maybe bishop takes knight followed by knight d5 works too. So black decided to play bishop c6. Is there any other way of stopping our ideas? I mean, if he castles, I like this move, and then knight d5. I feel he's losing because his pawn structure is a mess. We don't even have to win by an attack here. We can also win by positional means, grabbing the d6 pawn, trading pieces off. So he cannot castle. Now it is too late. We see his strategy was mistaken. Somehow he has to stop knight d5. I mean, if he plays this move, d6 is too weak. This knight is also hanging. I don't like this for black. So maybe bishop e6 was more accurate. I still feel he's got some problems because we can play this. Now I feel e5 might be a possibility as well because his first rank is weak. I have to repeat, his king is in the middle. That is a huge reason to try stuff like this. So, I mean, despite being the best try, bishop e6 has some issues. What black played, bishop c6, I feel is worse because at first glance I see this rook is hanging. So we might have some tactics already. And of course we have to punch him before he castles. If he castles, then he has better chances. I mean, he has some chances of survival. So I think this move, we don't have to calculate much to realize e5 is our next move. Sometimes we don't have to calculate. Sometimes we have to focus on logical moves. And e5 is the way of punishing black's strategy. So he has to take. If he plays something else, I mean, if he moves the knight, he has to play the knight somewhere, I mean, where he protects his bishop, but we can still take. Queen takes. And okay, here I feel we have a lot of chances, a lot of possibilities. I even think about a move like queen d3. I don't see a square for that rook, but let's say we take. If queen takes, we are winning. And if knight takes, oof, we can win a pawn already. I like that. But maybe we can go for more. I mean, his king is there. His pieces are hanging. I've got two powerful rooks. Maybe queen f2 is even better. Yeah, I don't see black holding this, to be honest. So, after e5, most of our opponents, they are going to take. And then bishop takes. We are mating him on the first rank, so queen c8 is the only move. And now the simple queen e2. This is where Fischer was so powerful during middle games. Now our queen on e2 is not only attacking the rook on c4, we are also putting an eye on the e-file and maybe this diagonal as well. I wonder what happens after rook b4. Now, this is, by looking at this arrow, we probably find bishop d6 and he has to resign. But black played bishop d7 and thanks to this move, we can now see fireworks. He is one move away from castling, but we have all sort of tricks. He still has the king in the middle, so rook takes c7. Oops. Rook takes c7 is the move that wins here, and black is defenseless. If knight takes, we take the bishop. If queen takes, we know that queen was overloaded, and we win a piece. So he's forced to bring his king to the center. And now The logical follow-up is rook d1 check. I think this is worth considering, but he's got king e8, and I don't see a clear follow-up here. I mean, we have some compensation, that's for sure, but rook takes e7, this move is easy to see. The move that's tough is the next one, which is knight b5. And here the problem is black is defenseless against knight a7. Even if black plays a6, I can play this move and the queen doesn't have squares. Even c5 is being protected by my knight. So there's no defense against knight a7. Also, with my knight on b5, rook d1 check is now stronger. I probably have stuff with knight d6 as well. So after knight b5, he plays queen c6, rook d1 check. Now with king c8, I would say this wins the queen, but it is actually checkmate, so that's even better. So he plays king e8, king e6. Okay, this doesn't require any analysis. I can at least win the queen with knight d4. So king e8, knight check. Now we make things simple. Rook takes c7. He cannot castle because he moved the king already, but still we have to make sure this king doesn't find any safety. So we play queen b5 check and black resigns. If king here, rook d8. If knight d7, here we have the tactical punch, rook takes, and after this we play knight c5, and again he is forced to resign here. An amazing game. We saw both amazing games actually. The one Magnus played, I have to say black played with a better strategy, but this game shows us how to play when your opponent breaks the opening rules. Here black, he played in a dragon fashion with his king in the center, and Fischer with strong play found a good punishment. So we see some similarities between these two geniuses, and of course a single video, two games, they are not enough to compare or analyze these two strong champions. So this is just part 1. We are going to do 4 videos on this topic and hopefully you enjoyed them. So that's all for this video. I hope you found this useful. I hope you could learn something, and of course I want to see you guys during my next chapters. Thank you.